Hello, my name is Vaid, and in this video I'm going to show you how to extract all measures details including DAX codes from all data sets on your organization Power BI service. In this solution, I want to use Power Automate to create a flow, and in that flow I want to use some Power BI APIs to scan the whole Power BI service and extract measures details from there. So why we need this solution and how this solution can help us. So imagine you want to create a report by using this data set which is connected to this report, and I want to create another report here. So if I click on this, so I will click on this ellipsis, three dots, and then select create report. So here I can see this data set has some measures here. So I want to use, for example, this one, sum of the sales here. But I can see, okay, this number doesn't make any sense for me. As a developer, I want to know, okay, what is the DAX code for this measure? I can't click on this one and see the DAX codes like something like the like a Power BI desktop here, and then find out, okay, what is the calculation for this result. And without knowing the MyDAX codes, it's really hard for developers to create a report. So there is one solution for that one. I downloaded that file, so here I can see all the measures. But if I publish that in the service, then I can't see that. There is one solution for that one, which you can run a script on here. Let me just let's run it again. Here, let me run tabular editor, and here script add which is a script. So if you run this very short script, that will add all the DAX expression here to the description of that measure. So you can see the formula here is now in the description. And if I just click on the save back to my report, then I hover the mouse over that measure here, I can see the DAX code of that measure. Click on this one to see that one here, and hover the mouse here, I can see that in the description. But it's good, it's really good, and it's really helpful, but there are some limitations for that one. If I have one measure with very long DAX codes and DAX expression, then it's really hard to read those codes. And sometimes we have some measures with very long codes, and we can't even change the font size of that code, font size of this description, to make it bigger, to be easy to read them. The biggest issue is who can guarantee the Power BI developers will run that script after each update. If a developer change the code here, for example, for sales amount, go there and add, let me just make it bigger, and add 1000 here, that developer has to run that script and update the description. Otherwise, if I hover the mouse over this one, it shows different code in the description, because I ran that script before I change the code and update the code. And if I publish this report, that will make bigger issue. I can go to the report, I can hover the mouse over that measure and say, okay, that's the sum of the sales. But in real, it has a sum of the fact sales amount plus 1000. That will make bigger issue. So I'm not sure how you can write a procedure and share that with all developers and ask them, okay, whenever you update anything, you need to run that tabular editorial script and make sure those descriptions are updated. But in the solution I want to show you in this video, it's automated. Whatever they publish on the Power BI, this solution, this flow, this Power Automate flow will go there, scan one by one and pull the information from them. And the biggest benefit of this solution is you can document all of your measures. You can run this code, this flow every hour, and then you can cross-check, or you can compare those together. You can find out, okay, there are 10 new measures added to my Power BI service, 10 measures have been removed, and 3 of them are updated. So it's really helpful, especially when you are working in a very big organization. You have many workspaces and data sets. Okay, so now let's create that flow together. But before that, let me show you the overall view of this flow. The first action or the first step is to scan Power BI service and find all workspace details. Here in my workspace, let me close this one. This account only has access to these workspaces. So this work, for example, this organization has 10 or 15 or 20 workspaces, and we want to pull the information from all of them. So first we need to find the ID, the workspace ID of those for each of those workspaces. If you go there here, for example, we need this ID, which is unique for each workspaces, and you can find it in URL. We want to pull that for those IDs from the Power BI service. So first, I want to use this Power BI API, which is the workspace info get modified workspaces. And it returns a list of workspace IDs in the organization. All workspaces, including personal workspaces, including inactive workspaces and active workspaces. You can see the permission you need to run this one and require the scope here. And this is the code, and we can test it here. So let me click and try it, and let me remove these items and run it. When I run that one, I can see the result is a very long list, and some of those IDs, I know some of those IDs are personal workspaces, and I don't want to pull the information from personal workspaces. So here, this API has 3 parameters. First is to exclude inactive workspace, and the second one is to exclude personal workspace. And I want to exclude both of them. So let's add one by one to this API here. True. And here, the second one. This one true as well. And run it again. The result this time is shorter than the previous one because I excluded all of those personal workspaces and the inactive workspaces. So now there are 8 workspaces here, as you can see here, and that's good. I have all the IDs here, and I can use them in the next API, which I will show you shortly. So these IDs are in one array, and for each of those IDs there is one object. So what we want to use now, we want to use HTTP. Let's first create a flow here. I want to create the instance cloud flow. Manually trigger flow. For now, I will use the manual trigger flow because I want to test that one by one manually. But in the future, when I created a flow, I can change that action trigger to scheduled or any other action to run this flow. So the first step here is to create a HTTP, to add a HTTP action and run that Power BI API in this flow. If you want to know how to call Power BI REST APIs by using Power Automate, you highly recommend to read this blog post, which I wrote, I think last year. You can find it on my website and explain everything with all the details here. By now, I added that to the clipboard, so I can use that one, and that it has all the information I need to run the Power BI API. Just I need to select the method and add the URI, which both are here, the get and this URI. Let me URL here, and then select the get here. So let's run it. Save this one first and then test it. Test this one, and the output is okay. The output is same as what we received from here. So all the IDs excluding personal workspaces and excluding inactive workspaces. So that's the first step done. So the next step in all this solution is to scan all of those workspaces and pull all details. Now we have the list of the workspaces, all the IDs there, need to scan all of them one by one. So let me back to Power BI API because we want to use another API to scan that one. So this API which has to be used in this flow is workspace info, post workspace info. How it helps us, it will run them, it will scan all of it, will not scan, it will like a trigger for that scan. When you use this API, it will return one ID, which is the scan ID, and you can use that scan ID in another API to get the result. So by now we need to just run this scan and find this ID, the scan ID. So if you want to use that one, let's use it here and try it and then add it to our flow. So okay, this API needs some information in the body. That body is mandatory and we need to add that one. And what information need to be in the body? It's like this one. So it should be a workspace and we need to define and add the workspace IDs here and then that will run that scan on those workspaces. So we already have the list of workspaces, the IDs of those workspaces. We only need to change the format of that to be same as this format here and then add it to this API. So now here we have one object workspace as a key and then one array inside that one. But here the output of this workspace is different. So let's change the format of the output of change the format of this JSON and make that same as what we need for the next API. So let me just first rename this one workspace IDs. Yeah, it's easy for me to find it in the future. And first I want to use the select. I will use the select from the body of this output of this one, HTTP, the workspace IDs body here. And then I don't want to map that one. I just need some information from them. So item, I need the IDs from that JSON. Okay. So now let's test it. Okay, so the result here is one array and all the IDs there, which is very similar to this one array, but I need to add this items to code. So let me just copy this one, and here let's add another action here, compose, and in the compose one I will paste this one. This section, this array is exactly the output of the select, the previous action. So add it here, test it again. Now we have the output in the same format that we need for running this API, the scan API. So I will paste it here and test it here. When I test that one, it will return an ID, which is the scan ID, and then I can use that in another API, which is to get a scan result, and it will return the scan result for that scan ID, which will be defined for it, which will be added here. So this API is very straightforward. Just need to add a scan ID. But let's back to the previous one. Here, this API has five parameters, and to getting the DAX and the tables information, we need to use DAX expression and dataset schema, and dataset expression and dataset schema parameters. Let me add them here, true, and add this one as well, through to this API, run it again. And if I now copy this code, this ID, and paste it here and use it here in the another one, the get scan result, which only need that scan ID, and run it, it will return a very long, complicated JSON. Okay, so we know what we want to use and just need to convert that to the Power Automate actions. So before I go there and show you how to add that one, make sure this is very important things here to enable tenant setting for metadata scanning. If you go to the documentation of this API, you can find this page which explain everything in details. So you can read it there. So I activate enable that before. So now I have the body for this API. I just need to add that API again here. Again, I will use that HTTP one, which I used before. And here, I just first need to get the scan ID. This is the post one here. And this is the URI here. And set it as a post. And I need to add a body. What is the body? Body is the what I need to add the body here. Body is the output of this action here, compose. Here I will use the output of the action here. Let's test it again and then add the next API here. Okay, it takes 1 or 2 seconds to complete that one. Yeah. And it gives me one ID and the status of that is success. Done. So I need to add the next API here. Let me just get scan ID, rename this one, and then add another one, which I copied before. Here, I need to use, I don't need to use this scan ID because this is scan ID for each time will be different. That's a very unique number. I need this URL here, and that's a get. So let me select get, add this here, and I need to add the ID from this one. So what I can do is to get it from this way. So let me just do the, for example, so one of this formula to select this one and find this code, yeah, and then remove that sort. And here from the body of the previous action, I need only the ID. Okay, so let's test it. Let's test it. Yep, test it. On it, done. First scan that the whole workspaces, the whole tenant, and then give me this ID, and then I will use that ID, which is here, to here, and then the output. If I click on this one, the output is very complicated JSON. So the next step done. We need to now go to the next step. So next step here is to check that output, to scan that output for each workspace, all the data set in that workspace, all the tables for that data set, and then pull out the measures. So in the other word, so first we need to find the workspace. We need 4 loops to extract those data. First in the workspace, how many data sets are in that workspace. For example, if dataset 1 has 2 tables, then scan those tables. And from table 1, this has, for example, 10 measures. Table 2 has 100 measures, and then go to the next dataset. Table 1, 2 measures, and then to the next dataset, next table, and pull out the all measures from there. So now let me rename this one. Scan result. The scan result is a complicated JSON file, and if we want to pull those information, we need to parse this JSON. So let me add another step here, which is the parse JSON. Why I changed the name there? Here, parse JSON. And here the content is the body of the previous one, scan result body, and the schema. What schema do I need to use here? Let me remove it first and then test it again, because I want to copy the JSON file and then create the schema from a sample. So I had to copy that before, but it's easy. I will run it again and copy that one. So here, open this one, keep it open, don't close it. Add the compose, add the parse JSON. Here, the content from the body of this one. And then the schema, generate from sample. Copy this one, paste it here, and done. It will create the schema for us. But there is an issue here, and I will show you. Okay, so here, if I go to the next step, let's go select here, and then set from the value of this one. No, not the value, sorry. The body of this one. I want to map A, for example, and I want to add IDs here, for example, workspace IDs. But which ID is the workspace ID? What is this ID? Is that the workspace ID or dataset ID? What is the name here? Is that the workspace name, table name, or dataset name? For this one, to make that easier, I wrote another blog, and to make that easier. And I created, for example, here I show that there are many IDs here and there are many names here, and it's hard to find out which ID is for workspace, which ID for dataset. And here I created one schema for this scan, Power BI Scanner API. And if you use that one for each of those items, I added a title, and it's really easy to use that for the other actions. So let me remove this one and replace this here. Just copy from my website and add it here. Let me copy that again. I'm not sure I copied that correctly or not. Yep. Okay, so let's test it again to see that works not. Yeah, it takes around 5 to 6 seconds to handle that one. Yes, here you can see the output here. That's okay, it's all good. If I go to the select now and I want to map those items here, and if I go there and select body and here map the items there, for example I to here, then parse JSON here. Yes, yeah, good. Why? I think I use I use the wrong one here. This is not correct. I'm pretty sure I copied that one, but it takes time to be copied. I think copy this one here, and it is still not correct. Let me copy that another way. Let me copy that this way. Yep, that works now. If I go there here, I'll copy that one and remove this one, select the body here, and then go there. So now I can see this is the workspace ID, this is the workspace name, and I can find all of those information with the title, which is easy to be used here. So let me remove this one because I don't want to use the select. I just wanted to show that we need to use a custom schema. If you use the generate from sample, that's hard to handle in future. We now parse. We need to parse this JSON. Let me just rename that one. Scan output. Okay. Now I want to create those loops to pull information from workspaces, and then go to scan the workspaces, then data sets, then tables, and pull the measures from there. But before that, when I scan those items, I want to pull measures information, and I want to keep that in one container, and I want to keep that in one variable. So we can't create a variable inside loops. So we need to create a variable before we start creating those loops. So let me just create a variable here. Initial initial variables here, name it as a result, and then that should be array. That should be an array, the type of, and keep it and leave it blank. Now I can create those loops. So if I go for the, not this one, let's do the condition, then apply for each. Let's add workspaces here. You can see here, let me just search for workspace. First is workspace, remove that one. Add another action here. The next loop is apply to each. Yep. And this time inside the workspace, we want to scan dataset. Here, select the dataset. And this one, not those information. I want all the datasets, so just select the dataset without any other rows here. And then the other one is the loop. Oh, you can add it another way. Let me show you how you can add it another way. So here, if I don't add this one here and say, okay, I want to pull out the tables here. If I click on tables, that will automatically add the dataset here, because it said, okay, you want to pull out the tables, but for each table, there are many datasets. So you need to first add one loop for dataset. So it automatically added there. So now it's okay. I created that just with one click. Add the workspace, dataset, and tables here. So now I can set some info, some condition. I need to set the condition before adding these tables here. Why we need to add that one? Because when you pull those information inside them, there are some datasets which are the real-time datasets. Those real-time datasets are these hybrid datasets, and inside those datasets there is only one table. But if you want to pull those information with this scenario, you will face with some issue because it can't manage the format of the format behind this dataset is a little bit different than the other datasets. So we need to ignore them because 100% there is no measures, and we didn't add any measures for this dataset. So we need to before I go to the tables, I need to remove that dataset. So here I will add an action condition here, and I will say, okay, the dataset content provider type, if I select for content provider type, does not contain the real time. That has a little bit longer name, but if you add this one, that will be ignored. And then remove this one from here. So now workspace, first loop, then dataset. Inside the dataset, check if that dataset is not the hybrid dataset or real streaming dataset. Then we need to remove another type of dataset, which are dataset name, which are those usage metric dataset. In each workspace, there is one usage metric dataset. We don't want to pull the information, pull those measures from that dataset. So let me just add another one. So dataset, it does not contain. Let me find the name. Was it here? Okay, let me copy paste it here. Does not contain the usage metric. If that's not one of those datasets, then we need to go through the tables. Let me add apply to each here. And in here, I can say select tables from there. Tables, and here I need to add another action here, another condition here, which first, if the table doesn't have any measure, we don't want to pull any information from that one. So there is no measure here. So let's add the measures. If the measures is equal to null, it's not equal to null because I want to add others to if yes. And for double check, I can add the table. If there is only one table in there and there is nothing inside the table, just to double check. I can add is not equal to null, but that will be that table, which when the table is null and there is nothing there, it's same as this one. But yeah, let's keep it there. It won't add any issue for us. Just for double check, there, add it here, and then now we are inside the tables, so we need to extract the measures here. So I can add a loop here, apply to each here, and I can select measures. So maybe there are many measures, so I need to add the loop for each measure. I need now to create one object and then add that to that variable I created. So now apply this one, create add another action here, which first I need to use the compose. Compose, I created that before, and I will paste it here. So okay, let me map it there because those are not mapped. So workspace name here, I need to create something like this and then append that to this variable. So for each measure, I will create something like this and add it to that variable. And at the end, that variable has all measures details. For each of them, there is one object in that variable. So okay, workspace name here, workspace ID here, dataset ID. Okay, if I select ID and then I can see each of them here. Dataset ID, dataset name, dataset name, and then table name. Map them to here. Measure name, and then measure expression, and measure is hide or is hidden or not, add it there, and then add each of those the output of the compose and append that to that variable. So append here, append to array variable, not a string variable here. I created that before here, it's before the loop, and I can now select it there, and the output of this one, let me just rename this, compose measure details, and here is easy to find it, measure details output. Now we have all the information. We can collect all the measure details here. So after this loops, we can add many actions. If you want to pull the information as a CSV file and then send it to your email, it's easy. You can create a CSV file and send it there. You can just create an Excel file and create a CSV file and add it, save it on the SharePoint. You can create an Excel file on a SharePoint, create a table there, and say, okay, add the rows to that table. In this scenario, in this demo, I will create a CSV, which I find it faster than any other solution. Here's CSV, create a CSV table from that result variable because all the information will be there. And the next step is to send an email. So send the email to who? To this email address. What's this email address? This is sandbox, so I don't know that. So Adele ID once, is it that? Yeah, okay. Subject is measures details, body I will add as please find attached all measures details, and I will add a timestamp to that one here, timestamp here. To know when that email received. I can add it to the subject as well. So it depends how you want to do that. So here, attachment content is the output of this create CSV file, but make sure to add the attachment name here. So all measures, and make sure to add CSV here. So that's it. Let's now test it. It will take because it depends on how many measures, how many workspaces, how many data sets you have, because there is a loop to go there and check one by one. For me, I have around 1100 measures in my Power BI service, and if I run this one, it takes around 5 to 6 minutes, which is really good because it shows it can pull one measure in less than a second. Yeah, 100% less than a second. So okay, so I will keep it there, but let's pause the video, and when it's done I will show the result to you. So I will keep it there, I will record this section, but I will make it faster in the video. Okay, it's done in I think less than 6 minutes. It's 5:45 and I received this email. If I open this one, I can see, let me see, I can download that one. Yes, it's downloaded. All the information are here. I can see, for example, which workspace name, Cantoso one, which I worked before earlier in this video, Cantoso, and I can see all of those measures. Sales amount, the formula is this one. Sales amount, some of the sales amount is here, year over year, and all of those measures here. Even this one, if I just do this, even the long one is here. I can change the font to read that one. I can copy paste that in if I need this measure. I want to use that another report, I can use it in that report by using this file. So that works. That works, and that's really cool. I hope you like this video and this solution helps you in the future. Please like this video if you like it, add your comments, your feedback about this solution under this video, and let me know if you wanna add more information or more action to this solution with other scenarios. Thank you and have a good one.